Are you craving a sweet treat tonight? One that will carry you gently, softly, all the way into a deep and cozy sleep. Come with me to Venice on a rainy night, when the stones of the city are dark, gleaming air smells of rain, wood smoke, and something sweet baking just around the corner. Tonight, we are going to walk together through those ancient, winding streets. We are going to find the most wonderfully cozy little bakery. And inside, we are going to taste the most amazing cannoli you have ever had in your life. Before we begin our journey, I want to share the heart behind Sleepbound Traveler. This space was created for adults who long for a moment of peace, a soft landing at the end of a long day. Think of it as your nightly passport to calm, where every story becomes a doorway to rest. If these journeys bring you comfort, consider liking, subscribing, and giving us a comment. It helps us continue creating peaceful escapes for you to enjoy night after night. Now, let us be still for just a moment. Before we step outside, before we feel the first cool drop of rain on our cheek, let us settle into this moment together. Let us breathe. Find yourself comfortable right now. If you are lying down, feel the weight of the blanket over you, the gentle, even pressure of it across your chest and your legs. If you are sitting, let your shoulders drop just a little. Let your jaw soften. There is nowhere to be tonight. There is nothing to do. There is only this being present here with me. Take a slow breath in through your nose. Let the air come easily. There is no rush. Feel your chest rise. Feel your belly expand gently outward. Hold it for just a moment at the very top. A soft, easy pause, and then let it go. A long, slow exhale through your mouth. Let all of it leave. Every little worry, every lingering thought from the day, just let it go. Again, breathe in, slowly, gently, all the way to the bottom of your lungs. Feel that quiet fullness, and then release it. A long, warm breath out. Your shoulders soften a little more. Your fingers uncurl. Your body remembers how to be heavy and still. Let your face soften. Your forehead. Let the skin there smooth out, unhurried. The space between your eyebrows. Let it release. Your jaw. Let it be loose. Your back teeth parted just slightly. Your lips soft. Your neck. Let the muscles there stop doing the small, habitual work they do, even when you think you're resting. Let your head be heavy. The pillow has you. This is where we begin, in this gentle, suspended place. You are completely relaxed, and from here, we are going to walk together into one of the most beautiful cities in the world, on one of its most beautiful nights, for one of its most delicious experiences. Keep breathing just like that, easy, slow, unhurried, as our story begins. You are standing just inside a doorway. It is an old doorway, a heavy wooden door painted a deep burgundy, the paint worn smooth at the edges where countless hands have pushed it open over the years. The hinges are iron, dark with age. Above you, a narrow stone archway curves overhead, and beyond it, Venice breathes in the rain, You can hear it before you step out. Listen, the soft, continuous hush of raindrops meeting water. In Venice, there is always water just below you, just beside you, threading through the city in its quiet canals. Tonight, the rain falls on those canals, and on the cobblestones, and on the red-tiled rooftops, and the whole world becomes musical, just steady and soft and endlessly soothing, like the city itself is breathing along with you. You reach up and take a small black umbrella from the iron hook beside the door. You open it with a gentle click, step over the threshold, and feel the first breath of cool evening air on your face. Oh, it is beautiful out here. The alley ahead of you, a narrow calle, as the Venetians call these little lanes, is lit by a single lantern mounted on the wall across the way. Its warm amber glow catches the rain as it falls, turning every drop into a tiny streak of gold. The stones beneath your feet are dark and slick with water, reflecting that same warm light back up at you in broken, shimmering pieces. Puddles have gathered in the dips between cobblestone, and as you take your first few steps forward, you can hear the soft tap of each raindrop landing in them. A little percussion, gentle and unplanned. You pull your coat a little closer. It is soft, wool perhaps, or something equally warm, and the collar comes up around your neck just enough to feel like a small private shelter. The air smells of rain and damp stone, and underneath that, very faintly, the green, mineral smell of canal water. You have always loved that smell. It is particular to Venice, and to nowhere else on earth. And tonight, it tells you exactly where you are, and that you are glad to be here. You begin to walk. Your footsteps are quiet on the wet stones. The umbrella keeps you dry in a small, round sanctuary, and beyond its edge, the rain continues its soft and ceaseless song. The calle winds gently to the left, and then to the right, in that unhurried, labyrinthine way that all Venetian streets do, as if the city has never been in any sort of hurry, and has never needed to be. On either side of you, the buildings rise tall and close. 3, 4 stories of ochre plaster and faded terracotta, their shutters closed against the evening. A thin line of warm yellow light escaping under some of them. Someone is home. Someone is warm inside. The thought is comforting. You pass a small bridge, and you pause on it just for a moment. Below you, a narrow canal moves with quiet patience, its dark water gathering the lantern light into long, trembling ribbons. A gondola is moored at the edge of it, its sleek black hull rocking very gently, the water lapping against it with a soft, rhythmic sound, like someone trying to help you sleep. The gondola is empty tonight. They have gone home to their warm kitchens and their families. The boat just waits, content, tied to its striped mooring pole. In the daylight, Venice can feel full of people and boats and voices and the long, dazzling glitter of sunlight on water. But at night, in the rain, in this quiet hour, the city reveals something softer, something older. The weight of all its centuries settles gently around you, the way an old quilt settles when you pull it over yourself. Comfortable, familiar, deeper than anything modern. You have read a little about this city, and its relationship with bread and pastry. And as you walk, fragments of that history drift back to you. Pleasant, unhurried thoughts that come and go like the rain. Venice has had bakers for as long as it has had anyone at all. In the medieval markets of the Rialto, just across the Grand Canal from where you are walking now, bakers sold their goods to merchants and sailors who were coming and going from the known world and beyond it. There were the forni, the bread bakers, who were so important to the city that the Republic of Venice gave them their own guild, their own rules, their own designated ovens built into the city's neighborhoods so that fresh bread was never far from anyone's door. And the pasticceri, the pastry makers, who worked alongside them with sugar and eggs and almonds and the dried fruits that arrived by ship from Sicily, from North Africa, from the eastern spice routes. Italy's love of baking is ancient. Long before Venice rose from the lagoon, the Romans were pressing olive oil into flatbreads and sweetening cakes with honey. The Arabs brought sugarcane to Sicily in the 9th century, and from there, sweetness crept northward through the Italian peninsula, through the monastic kitchens where monks preserved recipes alongside scriptures, through the grand courts of the Renaissance, where pastry was a display of wealth and artistry, all the way north into the humid air of Venice, where flour and eggs and cream and candied fruit became the particular, beloved language of celebration and comfort. The cannoli, which is your destination tonight, is Sicilian by birth. The oldest recipes come from the island's Arab-influenced kitchens, somewhere around the 9th or 10th century. The shell was fried in lard to make it crisp and blistered, and the filling was sheep's milk, ricotta, sweetened with honey, and perhaps a little cinnamon. Over centuries it travelled, the way all beloved foods travel, carried by people who loved it into cities and kitchens far from home. A little Venetian bakery, run by a family that has been making pastries since before anyone alive can remember. Cannoli are waiting for you. You think about what it means that food remembers things. A cannolo made tonight in this little Venetian shop carries within it, embedded in its recipe, its technique, and the hands that have passed that technique along. 1,000 years of someone loving it enough to make it again. There is something quietly extraordinary about that. The world changes enormously in 1,000 years. Empires rise and fall, cities flood and burn and rebuild themselves. And yet somewhere, in some kitchen, someone is still putting ricotta into a fried pastry shell and finishing it with a piece of candied orange peel, because that is still, after all this time, one of the best things a person can eat. You continue walking. The rain has settled into a lighter, more delicate pattern now, more mist than drops, the kind that makes halos around every light and softens the edges of everything. You pass a stone wellhead at the centre of a small campo, one of Venice's little open squares. The wellhead is ancient, carved with worn figures you cannot quite make out in the dark. Ivy climbs the wall behind it, and even now, in the rain, it is very green. Water runs along the carved stone rim of the well and drips in a thin silver thread onto the cobblestones below. Somewhere not far ahead of you, A church bell strikes the hour, a single, low, resonant note that rolls across the rooftops and fades slowly into the rain. It is a sound that Venice has been making for 1,000 years. It simply makes sounds that passes, and the quiet comes back. You turn a corner and there it is. The light finds you first. Warm, golden, spilling out through a low window onto the wet stones of the Cove in a rectangle of amber that glows like something living. The window glass is slightly fogged on the inside from warmth, and in the condensation someone, a child, perhaps years ago, has traced a small, lopsided star that has never quite been wiped away. You can see through it to the inside, and what you see makes you slow your steps, just to take it in before you enter. The bakery is small. Everything in Venice is small, proportioned to the width of a person and the passage of time, rather than to the ambitions of efficiency. Inside, the walls are a warm cream plaster, hung with old wooden shelves that carry their weight of glass jars and ceramic dishes with the ease of long habit. There is a low wooden counter along the back wall, and behind it, through an open doorway, you can see the dim golden flicker of the oven. The smell that reaches you even through the window, even through the cool damp of the rain, is extraordinary. Butter and pastry and something sweet with citrus, and the warm, yeasty exhale of bread that has been baking since this morning. Above the door, painted directly onto the plaster in a faded but still legible script, is the name of the bakery, and below it, in smaller letters, Dow, 1887. Since 1887. More than 100 years of someone getting up before dawn to heat the oven and roll the dough and fill the shells and set everything out by morning light. You feel a quiet gratitude for all those unnamed early mornings that have led to this moment. You shake the rain from your umbrella, fold it carefully, and push open the door. A small brass bell above you chimes softly as you enter. A gentle, clear note, the sound of welcome. The warmth of the bakery comes to meet you immediately, and it is the specific warmth of a room that has had an oven going in it all day. Not sharp or uncomfortable, but deep and even. You step inside, and the door closes gently behind you. And for a moment, you simply stand there and let the warmth surround you. Breathe in. The air is extraordinary. Beneath the sweetness, there is a foundation of good butter, real butter, the kind that is almost nutty. And beneath that, the faint ghost of vanilla and something floral that you will later decide was orange blossom water. The floor underfoot is terracotta tile, worn smooth at the threshold, but still showing the original, deep rust red toward the walls. And it holds the warmth of the day in it, the way old floors do. You can feel it through the soles of your shoes. You stand at the counter and let your eyes travel slowly over everything. On the shelves behind the counter, the pastries are arranged with the quiet pride of someone who loves what they make. There are sfogliatelle, those extraordinary shell-shaped pastries from Naples, each one layered into dozens of crisp, thin leaves that shatter when you bite them and give way to a fragrant ricotta filling within. There are bigna, small shoe puffs that have been glazed and dusted with powdered sugar until they glow like small snowballs. There are torte, low and dense and beautiful, their tops decorated with pine nuts pressed into honey, or with concentric circles of thin sliced almonds. There are biscotti, the real, old-fashioned kind, twice baked until they are dry and pale and perfect for holding, while they absorb the last of a cup of something warm. There is a small tray of ricciarelli, those lovely Siamese almond biscuits, pale and soft, dusted heavily with powdered sugar, so that each one looks as though it has been caught in a brief snowfall. Beside them, a plate of brutti marboni. Ugly but good, the name says. And the name is right. Rough little mounds of toasted hazelnut and egg white that look like nothing special and taste like something remarkable. And on a low shelf at the end of the counter, wrapped carefully in tissue paper, tied with brown kitchen string, a row of panettone, the tall, domed Milanese breads that are associated with celebration. Each one a small architecture of airy butter and egg dough, studded with candied fruit and raisins, their tops cracked and golden. You take all of this in slowly, not with the intention to purchase, but simply with the pleasure of looking at things that have been made well. There is an appreciation for the invitation to good food, a look before the tasting that is itself a form of gratitude. And there is a small chalkboard on the counter, handwritten in careful Italian cursive, that lists tonight's cannoli. Ricotta classica con scorza d'arancia e pistachio. Ricotta con amarene e cioccolato fondente. Ricotta al limone con mandorle tostate. Classic ricotta with orange zest and pistachio. Ricotta with sour cherries and dark chocolate. Lemon ricotta with toasted almonds. You read the words slowly, and you can almost taste each one just from reading it. You are deep in pleasant deliberation when you become aware of someone beside you. It is an older woman. Signora, you think, the word that carries warmth in it. She is small and round in the way of someone who has spent her life feeding people well, with white hair pulled softly back and a dark wool coat that speaks of practicality and comfort in equal measure. She is studying the same chalkboard you are studying, with the same air of pleasant difficulty. And when she notices you noticing her, she smiles, a smile that has absolutely no performance in it, just warmth, the way Venetians sometimes smile when they catch a visitor truly present in their city. Difficult, no? She says in Italian, and then seeing your face, she says it again in careful, lightly accented English. Difficult. Every time I come here, every time it has the same problem. You laugh softly and tell her you are trying to choose between the three. She waves her hand, a small, decisive gesture. No, no, you don't choose. You take all three. That is the only answer. She says it with the certainty of someone who has solved this particular problem many times before. You tell her you had not considered that. She nods, as if you have confirmed something she already suspected. The classic one, the orange and pistachio. That is the one you have first. It is a greeting. It says, hello, I am a cannolo. This is what a cannolo is. The cherry and chocolate one. That is the middle of the story. Rich, a little dark, very beautiful. And the lemon and almond one. She pauses, touching her fingertips together briefly in that universal gesture of perfection. That is the ending. Light, you understand, like something coming clear. You tell her that is a very good way of thinking about it. She smiles again, retrieves the 2 cannoli she came for, the classic and the cherry chocolate, tucked into a small paper bag with the bakery's name on it, and wishes you a gentle buonanotte. Good night. She pushes through the door, and the brass bell chimes her out into the rain. You are left with the warmth, the smell, the chalkboard, and the sense that you have just received excellent advice. You turn to the counter and catch the eye of the young man behind it, dark-haired, with a smile, and you say, with some confidence now, Tutti e tre, per favore. All 3, please. He gives you another pleasing smile and begins to plate them. You watch him work, and it is a pleasure to watch. The cannoli shells are lined up carefully on a tray just below the counter, pale golden tubes, fried until they are completely crisp and faintly blistered in places. The edges slightly ruffled like a tiny ruffle of lace. He lifts each one with careful fingers, not squeezing, just cradling, and uses a small piping bag to fill each shell from both ends, working slowly inward so the filling reaches all the way to the center. The ricotta mixture has been passed through a fine sieve until it is perfectly smooth, and it is thick enough to hold its shape, but light enough to have a faint, creamy give when it yields. For the first cannolo, the classic, he dips both ends into a small dish of finely chopped pistachios. The pieces are the most extraordinary color, a deep, muted green, the color of old velvet or of new leaves seen through glass. He finishes it with a few curls of candied orange zest, laid gently on top of the cream at each end. The orange peel glows in the bakery light, translucent amber, almost jewel-like. For the second, the cherry and dark chocolate, he presses 2 or 3 whole sour cherries, candied and glistening, into the cream at each end, and then takes a small grater and runs a piece of very dark chocolate across it until a fine, dark snow settles over the entire pastry. The smell that rises from it is complex and lovely. The bitterness of good chocolate, the bright tartness of cherry, and beneath it, all the cream. For the third, the lemon and almond, he dusts the filling lightly with powdered sugar and finishes each end with a scattering of toasted almond slices. The almonds are the palest gold, barely darkened by their time in the oven, and they catch the light in the same way the raindrops did outside. Each one its own small brightness. He places all 3 on a simple white plate and sets it on the counter before you with a small, quiet dignity. A paper napkin beside it, a tiny demitasse of water. Buon appetito, he says. And he means it. You carry your plate to a small table near the window, the one with the fogged glass and the lopsided star, and you sit down. You set down your umbrella. You settle your coat. You pick up the first cannolo the classic, the greeting, as the woman in the wool coat described it. And you hold it for just a moment and simply look at it. The shell is light in your fingers. You can feel, even through the tips of your fingers, how crisp it is. A kind of structural integrity that is also somehow delicate, the way the thinnest ice on a puddle has its own momentary strength. The ricotta filling is visible at both ends, pale and creamy, studded with the dark green of pistachio and the amber warmth of orange peel. You take a bite. The shell shatters. That is the only word for it. Not a crunch, not a crack, but a genuine, clean, delightful shatter, the way something perfectly brittle does when it finally yields. It gives way all at once and crumbles into your mouth in golden, buttery fragments. And at the same moment, the ricotta reaches you, cool and smooth and sweet, with just the right restraint, not cloying, not aggressive, but quietly, confidently sweet. And then a little burst of flavour. The orange zest, bright and clean and warm at the same time. The way citrus can be warm even though it is cool to the taste. And the pistachio, a slight earthiness, a little savoury note, a hint of something almost buttery beneath the sweetness of the cream. It is everything the woman in the wool coat promised. It is, in the truest sense, an introduction. This is what a cannolo is. This is the idea of it, fully and clearly expressed. You chew slowly, letting it all be there together. And then you swallow. And for a moment, you just sit with the aftertaste. Outside the window, the rain has found its rhythm again. A soft, persistent patter against the glass, against the stones, against the surface of the canal somewhere just beyond the buildings. A low, warm note of amber light falls across the table. Somewhere in the back of the bakery, someone is humming something very quietly. Not a real song, just the sound a person makes when they are working and content. You take a slow breath in. You take another bite. The second bite is even better than the first. It always is. When something is truly good, the first bite asks questions, and the second one answers them. You already know what to expect, and so you can simply be inside the experience now, present with it, not evaluating or comparing, just receiving. The ricotta is so smooth. The orange zest keeps singing. The pistachio is the quietest possible bass note beneath it all. You finish it slowly. You set the shell down and pick up the tiny demitasse of water. It is cool and very clean, and you take a small sip to clear your palate. You look at the 2 remaining cannoli on the plate. You are in no hurry at all. You let yourself rest here for a moment. Just sit quietly in the warmth of the bakery and listen. The rain is still singing its soft song against the window. The humming from the back has stopped, and now there is only the occasional small sound of the bakery going about its evening. A tray placed on a surface. The low creak of an oven door being checked. The almost musical clink of ceramic on ceramic. These are good sounds. They are the sounds of someone who knows what they are doing and has been doing it long enough that all the movements have become automatic and gentle. You pick up the second cannolo. You notice before you even taste it, that it is heavier in your hand. The sour cherries at both ends, dark red, glistening, each one a perfect little sphere of preserved summer, give it a slight additional weight. And the chocolate snow that the young man grated so carefully over it has settled into the cream and dusted the top of the shell with a dark and beautiful fine powder. It smells different from the first one, deeper. There is something almost smoky in the chocolate, a good darkness, not bitter but complex. And beneath it, the cherries give off a sweet, sharp, jammy scent that makes something in you wake up and pay attention. You take a bite. Oh, this one is something different. Where the first cannolo was brightness, citrus and green and the sweet clarity of pistachio, this one is depth. The dark chocolate dissolves at once on your tongue, leaving behind a long, low bitterness that is not unpleasant, but is instead the kind of bitterness that makes everything around it more complex, the way a shadow makes light more vivid. And then a cherry. You have bitten into one, and it releases its preserved interior. Sweet first, then tart, then sweet again in the finish, like a tiny story with a satisfying arc. And through all of it, the ricotta, the same smooth cream as before. But in this context, it tastes different, softer, more yielding, because the chocolate and cherry are so present, and the cream is what holds them in balance. You chew very slowly. This is the one you want to stay inside for as long as possible. The rain taps at the glass. The amber light holds its warm rectangle on the table. You can hear, faintly, from somewhere across a canal or behind a wall, the sound of a television, a low, indistinct murmur. Human voices in an Italian living room. Someone's family, gathered somewhere warm. The thought of it, the image it brings with it, is deeply comfortable. You take the next bite more slowly still, letting the chocolate meet the cherry before the ricotta comes in and smooths everything out. You notice how the shell itself, a little softer now at the center from the moisture of the filling, has become a different texture than the first cannolo's shell was. Still crisp at the ends, but with a slight give toward the middle. And this too is delicious. You eat this one in 4 bites, and each bite is its own small event. When you are done, you sit very still for a moment, just feeling the warmth of the room and the pleasant weight of something truly good having happened in your mouth. You take another small sip of water. Your shoulders, you notice, have dropped a little lower than they were when you came in. Your hands are loose and open in your lap. The rain against the window sounds, if possible, even softer than before. You look at the third cannolo for a long moment before you pick it up. It is the palest of the 3. The powdered sugar over the filling has made it look almost white in certain angles of the light, and the toasted almond slices fanned out at each end are the colour of very light honey. There is something almost modest about it, after the drama of the sour cherry and dark chocolate. And you remember what the woman in the wool coat said. This is the ending. Light, like something coming clear. You lift it gently. The lemon, you discover, was in the ricotta all along, folded into the cream itself, worked in until it is completely part of the filling and inseparable from it. Not a decoration, not a finish, but a fundamental ingredient. When you bite into the shell and the cream reaches you, the lemon is there immediately, clean, bright, cool, and yet somehow warmer than you expected, because the warmth of the ricotta carries it differently than plain lemon juice would. It is lemon at its most civilized, present and clear without being sharp. And then the almond. The almond comes in a breath later, after the lemon has made its greeting and begun to fade. It is subtle. You would almost miss it if you were not paying attention. But it is there. A nutty, faintly sweet warmth that lingers in the back of your mouth long after the cream and the shell have gone. Toasting has done something to it, deepened whatever is most itself about an almond, pulled it forward. The shell on this one has stayed the crispest of the three, perhaps because the filling is the lightest, the least moisture-bearing. It shatters the same as the first one did, cleanly and completely, and the contrast between that crispness and the cool lightness of the lemon cream is the most elegant thing about it. You understand, eating this third canola, exactly what the woman with the white hair and the wool coat meant by something coming clear. After the richness of the pistachio and orange, after the depth of the chocolate and cherry, this lemon and almond canola is like the room going very quiet, like taking a deep breath of cool air after a warm room, like a window opening. You take your time with the last two bites. You want them to last, but you also know, and this is the comfortable knowledge of someone who has had a truly good experience. The story that the woman described, the greeting, the middle, the ending, has been exactly as she promised. You set down the last small fragment of shell. You fold your napkin. You sit with your hands quiet on the table, and your eyes resting, unfocused, on the fogged window. The bakery hums around you. There is the low, warm sound of the oven somewhere behind the counter, not the sharp crackle of an active fire, but the deep, settled tone of retained heat, a kiln warmth that has been building all day and will take hours more to release. You can hear, just barely, what sounds like a radio somewhere in the back room, a few notes of something, too quiet and too far to identify, but the tone of it is right. The tone of someone's private evening, a station playing for its own pleasure. Outside, Venice continues its rainy evening, patient and ancient and entirely unbothered. You feel, in the quietest and most genuine way, perfectly content. You leave a small folded note of euros on the table, give a nod of real thanks to the young man at the counter, who returns it with the grace of someone who is proud of what they serve. The rain is a whisper now, barely rain at all, more a feeling than a fact, a fine, cool mist that comes to meet your face when you open your umbrella and step into the calais. The stones are still wet and still gleaming, still holding all that amber lantern light in their polished surfaces. You begin the walk back. You are in no hurry. The city is quiet around you, not empty, not deserted, just quiet in the way that old cities get quiet late in the evening, when the visitors have returned to their hotels and the Venetians have retreated behind their shuttered windows. Your footsteps are the only footsteps in this particular calle, and the sound of them is soft and regular on the wet stones, a small, comfortable percussion that marks your progress without any urgency. You notice things on the walk home that you did not notice on the way out. You always do going back. The first time through a place, you are looking for where you are going. The second time, you can simply look. You notice a cat sitting on a windowsill above you, a striped tabby tucked into a neat square of warmth behind the glass, watching the rain with the composed indifference of a creature who has long since settled the question of whether rain is a problem. It glances down at you and then away, returning to whatever quiet thoughts cats have on rainy evenings. You notice a row of window boxes on one of the buildings. The plants inside them, long past summer and gone to bare stems. But the paint of the boxes themselves, a faded, dusty blue, is beautiful against the ochre plaster. Someone painted those boxes once with care and with the intention of beauty. And the beauty is still there, patient through the seasons. You notice that the calle narrows for a stretch into something barely wide enough for two people to pass comfortably, and that in this narrowest section, the walls on either side are close enough to touch with outstretched hands, and that this narrowness feels mysteriously, not confining, but sheltering, as if the city is briefly holding you close before releasing you again. You cross the small bridge you crossed on the way out, and you pause on it again as you did before. The gondola is still there, still rocking with that slow, hypnotic patience. The water beneath you moves in its gentle, tidal way, a movement so slight you might miss it if you were not paying attention. But it is there, the lagoon breathing in its sleep. The lantern light on the water has changed in the time you were inside. The angle is different, or the rain has altered the surface somehow, and the reflections now are longer and more trembling, like slow gold brush strokes on a dark canvas. You stand there for a little while. There is no reason to rush. The cannoli are a warm, gentle presence in your memory now, already becoming one of those experiences you will come back to, the way you come back to a piece of music or a line from a book because it gave you something real. The texture of that first shell, the depth of the cherry and chocolate, the clean quiet of the lemon. A church bell somewhere finds the hour again. That same low, resonant note rolling out across the rooftops and the water and dying away slowly into the rain. You count it. 2 strokes. Late enough to be night and early enough to still be evening. You turn and continue walking. The mist has grown even lighter now, and you lower your umbrella a little, letting the cool air touch your face more fully. It feels good, that clean, damp coolness against your warm cheeks. A pleasant contrast. The city offering a small gift. You pass the campo, with the ancient wellhead and its ivy-hung wall. The water is still running along the carved rim, still dripping its thin silver thread. The stone figures on the wellhead are no more legible than they were on the way out, and you find you are no longer curious about them. They have been there for 500 years. There is a cat here too, a different one, black and white, sitting at the base of the wellhead with the stillness of a small statue, watching you pass. It doesn't run. It doesn't do anything at all, except exist with absolute confidence in its right to be here in this camp, in the rain at this hour. You give it a small nod of acknowledgement. It doesn't return the nod, but you feel somehow that it has been received. The alley narrows again toward home, the buildings pressing a little closer on either side, and somehow this narrowing feels welcoming rather than confining, like the feeling of a hallway leading toward a room you know and love. The lantern above your doorway is already in sight. Its amber light, a point of warmth at the end of the calle. You are almost home. And as you walk those last few steps, the rain decides to speak up one more time. A brief, gentle crescendo drops a little larger and a little closer together for just a few seconds, tapping on the stones and on your umbrella and on the water somewhere near the walls. A soft and lovely sound. And then it eases again into quiet, as if it wanted to say goodbye, as if the city itself wanted to say goodbye. You reach the door. You fold the umbrella. You shake the last drops from it. You reach for the iron handle. The door opens, and the warmth inside comes to meet you the way warmth does when you have been out in the cool. Not dramatically, just gently, folding around you as you step inside. You close the door behind you. The sound of the rain becomes muffled, distant, a soft suggestion of weather rather than weather itself. The hallway is dim and warm, and you hang your coat on the hook and set the umbrella in the stand and take a slow breath of the indoor air. A different warmth than the bakeries, more familiar, more yours. You move quietly toward the kitchen. The kettle is filled. You set it on the stove. While you wait for the water to heat, you stand with your hands resting on the counter and look at nothing in particular, letting the evening settle behind your eyes like sediment, finding the bottom of still water. The kettle begins its low building murmur, not yet boiling, just warming, the sound of water coming alive with heat. You reach up and take down the small tin of chamomile tea. The lid comes off with a soft sound, and the scent rises at once, dry and floral and faintly honeyed, the smell of something made to help you sleep. You place a spoonful into the infuser, set it in your favorite cup, the wide, low one with a slightly uneven rim that you have had for years. When the kettle sinks, you pour the water slowly over the infuser and watch the tea bloom into the cup. It changes the water to pale gold almost immediately, and the steam rises in a single unhurried column before diffusing into the air. You can feel the warmth of it against your face, even from across the counter. You carry the cup very carefully with both hands toward the bedroom. The hallway is quiet and dim, and your footsteps on the wooden floor make the softest sound. A sound that means home, that means evening, that means the day has been completed and set aside. You pass the small bookshelf in the hallway, and your eyes rest for a moment on the familiar spines, not reading them, just registering their presence, the way you register the presence of things you love that have been in the same place for a long time. In the doorway, you stop because of Dora. Dora is already there, of course. She has been there for the last several hours, judging by the perfect nest she has made of herself at the foot of the bed. A small, dense, improbably comfortable arrangement. Her tail tucked neatly around her feet, her eyes closed, her breathing the slow and fully committed breathing of a cat who has decided that sleep is both a pleasure and a practice. She is warm, orange and white, and she has arranged herself in the precise center of the most comfortable looking part of the bed. And she does not stir when you set your tea down on the nightstand. You sit on the edge of the bed for a moment, and the mattress dips gently under you. And Dora, without opening her eyes, shifts slightly in her sleep. Just a small adjustment, the faintest acknowledgement that you are here now. You look at her for a moment, the way her paw is tucked under her chin, the small, steady rise and fall of her side as she breathes. Cats know something about sleep that we have mostly forgotten. They do not resist it, or negotiate with it, or crowd it out with one more thing. They simply go toward it when it calls, and they give themselves to it completely. You have always admired that about Dora, even if you have never been able to say so in those words before now. You reach over and take the tea. It has cooled just enough. It is the temperature of something comfortable, something you can drink without caution, and you hold the cup in both hands and let the warmth seep through your palms. You take a slow sip. The chamomile fills your mouth with its mild, gentle sweetness, not demanding in any way, just present, the way a good friend is present, not asking anything of you, but bringing something soft and good, simply by being there. You take another sip, and another. Between each sip, you hold the cup, and let the warmth of it travel from your palms up through your wrists, into your forearms, toward your shoulders. It is a simple and a very real comfort. A cup of warm tea held in both hands in a quiet room, while a cat sleeps at your feet and rain falls outside. There are more complicated pleasures in the world. None of them are better than this one right now. You set the cup back down. You take off your shoes and set them aside. You move carefully in the quiet, patient way of someone who is ready to sleep, not fighting it, not bargaining with it, but genuinely welcoming it. You pull back the covers and slide in. The sheets are cool at the edges, that pleasant cool that is the temperature of a room kept just slightly lower than body heat, and they warm around you almost immediately as you settle in. The pillow receives your head. The blanket comes over your shoulders. You shift once, twice, finding the arrangement that your body has always preferred. And then you are still. Dora redistributes her weight at the foot of the bed. Not moving exactly, just becoming somehow more settled, more present, more committed to being exactly here. You can feel the faint warmth of her against your feet through the blanket. It is a small and very good thing. Outside, the rain is still falling. You can hear it from here. Quieter than it was in the street, filtered through glass and walls and the additional insulation of a warm, lamplit room, but still present, still doing what it does. Rain on stone, rain on water. The soft, continuous conversation of a city with its weather, going on as it has always gone on, long before you arrived and long after you are asleep. You take a long, slow breath. The chamomile is still warm in your chest. The memory of the cannoli is still there. Lighter now, softer. The way good memories of good food tend to become softer and warmer as the evening goes on, like the smell of something baking that lingers in a room long after the oven has cooled. The lemon, the almond, the clean, clear, last bite. You close your eyes. The rain falls. Dora breathes. The room is warm. Your body is heavy and soft in the way it gets when sleep is very close and very welcome. Not a heaviness of exhaustion, but of rightness, of being exactly where you are supposed to be at exactly the right time. Your thoughts are becoming slower and looser, like clouds beginning to lose their shape, like the reflections on the canal water when a light wind moves across them, recognizable for a moment, and then gently dissolving. Let your breathing slow now. Let it find the rhythm it finds on its own when you are not watching it, slower than you usually breathe, deeper, fuller, in and out, in and out. The body knows how to do this. The body has always known. The Venice streets are somewhere behind your eyes now. Not a thought, not a memory being examined, just a texture, a warmth, the quality of amber light on wet stone, the sound of the rain, the brass bell above the bakery door, the smell of good butter and orange blossom water.